The Pirelli World Challenge Championships return to the mountain rim beauty of the Great Salt Desert, where the Sprint X Season Championships will be decided. It's high speed, high elevation, high temperature excitement at the Grand Prix of Utah, and it starts now. There are 2 rounds left in the Pirelli World Challenge GT Sprint X Championship, the first of which unfolds right now here at Utah Motorsports campus. And we are looking forward to this one as we wrap up the Sprint X season here at this amazing venue. I'm Greg Kramer, joined by Calvin Fish. Ryan Marine will be covering all the action for us. And this is a race being Sprint X with pit stops. There's plenty to be entertained by, plenty of intrigue and strategy about to unfold. Welcome, everybody, to this final weekend of Sprint X Championship competition. And Calvin, really looking forward to this one. This track presents some amazing challenges, not the least of which today is going to be temperature that these drivers are going to have to deal with. Pit stops, tire changes. These crews are out in this heat as well. It's going to be something.
It really will be. And fortunately for these guys, in terms of managing the tires, they get to change tires halfway through when they do that mandatory pit stop, unlike the GTS race that we saw a little bit earlier in the day. But certainly extreme temperatures, close to triple digits, about 98, 99 degrees ambient right now. There's a little bit of a dust swirl that's kind of right around those final corners we're looking at right now, Greg. There's some construction going on. When the wind is blowing, it's blowing the sand across the racetrack, so the drivers will need to be on their toes here today.
They will have to be, but of course they are up to it. As a matter of fact, as we have our Porsche track preview setting up for you, Spencer Pumpelly will be co-driving this car, but the guy who will be taking us on the track preview just won at Le Mans, Michael Christensen.
Hey everyone, this is Michael Christensen, driving for Allegro Motorsports in a Porsche 911 GT3R here at Utah Motorsports campus. Coming up to turn 1, braking at around the 2 marker, trying to keep good momentum through turn 1, even though it's a little bit bumpy in the entry. And try to use all the track width here. This section is high-speed section, but as you see, the rear is quite alive. Also here, just trying to keep the speed through and get all in power down the next straightaway. As it's a long straight, it's important to get a good exit here. Late braking up to the next hairpin left-hander, really slow corner, and again try to stop the car as quick as possible, get on power as early as possible out of here. Bit of traction issues coming up to the next right-hander, again really slow corner, trying to position myself as good as possible for the exit, as we have a little bit of a straight afterwards coming up here to the next right-hander. It's a fast right, but then you have a slow section afterwards, so I try to line myself up as good as possible for this chicane coming through here, trying to stay on power all the way through and accelerating all the way through. Coming up the hill, braking at a 2 marker again, keeping a tight line through, but using all the exit curve as much exit as possible. Here the last section, try to keep as much speed through, but the rear is loose. Again, trying to stop the car and get around the corner as fast as possible and as tight as possible. Here last corner, get the car turned and as early on power as possible as well. Very important down the long straightaway. This is one lap with Michael Christensen here at Utah Motorsports campus. This is your Porsche track preview.
3 miles around this track. It is fast and flowing, and there's lots that they're going to have to be dealing with today. There's no question about that. And a lot of it is that temperature and the conditions. The wind, Cal talked about it. You can see all the debris and the clag and tire rubber that is building up along with the sand and such on the track. But the stage is pretty much set, so let's get down to Ryan Marine for that special command.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike Sheehan, the Chief Marketing Officer for Security National Mortgage, to give the command to start engines.
Drivers, start your engines.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. And this field comes to life and we are ready to go racing. And as you see that field start up here, we kind of lead you right into our Pirelli storylines, and we saw it right there in that front row. Bentleys are fast here, Cal.
They really are, rebounding from some engine issues that they had at Portland, Greg, and what a way to do it. They've got great straightaway speed here. Got Alvaro Prant from the pole alongside his young teammate Rodrigo Baptista.
And that's the front row. In the second row, qualifying in the third spot, are the point leaders coming in, and they have a bit of potential here to wrap this up.
They do. I mean, they have a 14-point lead right now over Scott Hargrove, Wolf Hensler, so you'd think, well, if they all finish up amongst the top numbers, then it's going to be too much to clinch here today. But if the 96 car shouldn't get points here today, if they had an issue before the 50% mark, then they're 20 points ahead of Christensen and Pumpelli, and that is definitely doable.
And the interesting thing here, we have sort of an interloper here that can play a bit of a spoiler, qualified fourth at number 80, ACS Manufacturing, Lone Star Racing, Mercedes, Scott Heckert and Mike Skeen. Heckert is on form right now. Put that thing fourth on the grid. They're potentially stealing points.
Absolutely. They have a lot of pace, and great to see them back on the grid here this weekend, having skipped a couple of rounds.
Absolutely, and we go back, take a look at who qualified where in our Pro-Am category. On the pole, the number 31 Ferrari of Vancouver TR3 Racing entry, Wei Lu, who will be sharing with Jeff Siegel, put that car on pole. And as the field now out on its lone formation lap, I want to get back down to Ryan with the third of our Pirelli storylines. And Ryan, it's a big addition to this field.
It really is. Michael Cooper has been a stalwart of Pirelli World Challenge going back to his touring car days. Now he's back in the GT class. He's been in GTS all season long, and he's doing it in a way that kind of brings his career full circle. He's with Nick Short's CRP Racing team, replacing Daniel Morad at the wheel of that Mercedes-AMG GT3. Now, Nick Short gave Michael Cooper his first test in a GT car. He gave him his first opportunity to race in a GT car, and on short notice gets the call up to go here alongside Matty Brabham. Now, neither of them have much seat time in this car, and the car is heavily repaired following a big accident for Daniel Morad in the last round at Portland, but they're ready to go and see what they can get out of that machine here this afternoon.
Yeah, and it's a great point, Cal. Of course, there's a little irony here that Cooper went out and wheeled it in qualifying, but
yeah, he gets a 5-grade grid penalty for Daniel Morad's indiscretion, and effectively the stewards felt that he was at fault with the crash there at Portland. So Michael's got a little bit of work to do, and kind of ironic, the short notice term that Ryan Marine used from Nick Short.
Yeah, exactly. And the interesting thing is Michael Cooper said the car comes up to speed fast, and he said, so we can maybe make some spots up early. He said the problem is when a car comes up to speed fast, that doesn't necessarily mean it stays quick all the time. And he said we're going to have to be very careful about that. But as you said, these guys, they all get to get a nice fresh set of tires on it at that halfway point, and that can just sort of liven things up a bit.
It certainly can, and great to see some familiar faces back on the grid in terms of the Turner Motorsport
Absolutely.
BMW there, you can see it. And also Risi is back on the grid as well, so expect them to have a little bit of firework action at the end of the race. Anthony Lazaro sharing that car, and he was fastest in one of the practices here yesterday.
Yeah, he is quick in Ferraris, and in that Turner car, two drivers that are running the Blancpain Asia's GT Series, two Japanese drivers, one of them who's been a stalwart in Super GT, which is plenty fast, powerful racing. So it'll be fun to see what they're able to make happen here, but we're about ready to make this race go green. The beautiful Bentley Mercedes from Farmington Mercedes-Benz that's pacing this field ducks into the pits in front of those two Bentleys. And now we are ready to go racing. Green flag flies for the Bentleys. Now we are underway. Second to the last round of the Sprint X Championship for GT. And Baptista timed that beautifully. Had a nose ahead for just a little bit. Here comes Parent down to the inside.
Yeah, Parent there holds that inside line. Nice start there for Tony Vilander. Looks like a nice clean start for the two Bentleys. They run line astern. Baptista tries to make a move around the outside, then tucks back in. Parent's out wide now. Baptista having another go at him.
Oh, he is. He counter moved beautifully. And if he can stay to the outside here, couldn't quite make that work. In this rhythm section, looks like Cesar Baccarella dropped a tire in that Alfa Prime Ferrari. Yes, he did. And that he had to lift big time, so he'll slot all the way to the back. But already the action pretty fierce here. Baptista takes a look, and you can see the red Ferrari defending a little bit on Christensen in that white and green Porsche.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what Tony Vilander can do. They've really gone to a new mode of saving tires over the course of this weekend. You get 4 sets of brand new tires. We see Baccarella still in trouble there in the background as he finally gets it turned around. We saw that Tony Vilander qualified third, but I don't think they got a new tyre kind of quality sim done in practice, so that may have affected their ability to get the most out of this race car. Expect him to be in good shape here today, but the Bentleys look awfully powerful.
Boy, and Vilander was in massive defense mode on Christensen, but look for that orange Mercedes in the background. Cooper has already moved up into the 7th place. That is a brilliant opening lap for Michael Cooper.
Yeah, from 12th on the grid, so a few more tenths he could have qualified up on the second row possibly, but didn't quite get it done. He said that the tires went off a little bit too early for him, but he's making moves, as you can see.
Yeah, great stuff. In that white Ferrari, that is your AM leader, but there is a look at Michael Cooper, and then to build this MK Mercedes-Benz that he shares with Brabham, working his way through this final sequence of corners. There's Wei Lu, but Parker Chase in attack mode here in that chrome silver and green and black Audi from True Speed, already hounding Wei Lu. That's the battle for the AM lead. And, boy, I'll tell you, a really, really strong start here as well in that Turner BMW from Takuya Shirazaka, who's up and battling with those guys already.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. Spoke to some of the team this morning. They said, no, both guys are doing a great job as Zarata looks to the inside there. Battle for nationally there between the two drivers, of course.
Yeah, and Yuki had a nice qualifying lap, no question, right in the hunt, qualified up in the deal, but Shirata doing a superb job here. And that's an all-AM car for the Turner boys, so for him to come up and mix it up with the Pro-Ams already, that says something.
Parker Chase there, he's all over the back of Wei Lu, and that's not only a battle for the M-Class lead, this is the battle for the M-Class championship as well. Right now, Parker Chase and Ryan DL hold on to that Pro-Am class lead, and they got it with an overall victory at Portland.
Yes, they
chaotic race there at the end, but they brought it home for the victory.
And yeah, Parker has just really come alive in the second half of this championship, and having Wei Lu in front of him, who has shown some amazing pace. They showed up at Circuit of the Americas, and we're thinking, this is a guy who's racing touring car beat cars not long ago, and he held his own amongst a pretty august company. And he's done a lot of Ferrari Challenge racing that have some pretty quick cars, not quite the downforce here, but he's been a revelation as well. Going to be some pretty solid racing here. There's a look at Christensen, who has had a solid start as well. And good move for him. And he's going to get the Optima Batteries Best Start Award, moving up just one spot. And the reason that Cooper can't get it is that was done via a penalty, so that makes you ineligible for those specialty awards.
Quite the summer for Michael Christensen. Had that win at Lime Rock, had a win at Le Mans, had a sprint win at Road America. He's been very much on form in this team. Has really found the sweet spot with this Allegro Motorsports Porsche.
Portland.
Yeah, really a factor every single weekend. They see Scott Hecker's had a nice strong start to this race. Qualified 4th, running in the top 5 right now. Ran a little bit wide there, looked like through turn 1, trying to hang on to this lead pack.
Watching this beautiful Allegro machine work its way through, and look at this.
Brett's in trouble.
Yep, something's wrong.
He's got a technical issue with that race car. Let's not forget that both the Bentleys had issues at Portland. Speaking of this team this weekend, they're not absolutely certain. They just plugged in fresh motors for this weekend and hoping for the best, just trying to get a handle on what exactly went wrong there. Now it seems like he might be up to pace. He certainly defended vigorously there from Christensen as Michael finally forces his way through. So may have been a momentary issue for Parent, but either way, he's lost the lead and he's dropped down to 4th.
Yeah, we've heard from some other cars, a couple in the GTS class, that they were getting these momentary moments, which sounds kind of redundant, but where because of the heat probably, they're getting the car just kicks into this preservation mode for a minute and then releases a little bit. It's just pure speculation, obviously, but that was just weird. He came out of that kink leading into the Black Rock hairpin and then just suddenly pulled over, but
yeah,
seems back on it again.
He had the lead, so he's getting clean air to the front end of that Bentley, but certainly a moment where Alvaro Parent just had to get out of his way, otherwise his teammate's going to run over him. Then he locks up here into turn 14, so struggling here to get back into a rhythm.
Is he having maybe some sort of an electronics issue? Because if it lays down like that, you don't normally see lockup with ABS.
Yeah, you'd have to wonder if he's got some kind of electronic gremlin that's affecting various systems on the cars.
So now he's in scramble mode, trying to figure out a way to do a workaround in terms of his driving with whatever is happening. So that promotes Vilander up into 2nd, Christensen now to 3rd, and Rodrigo Baptista And not a surprise to see Rodrigo leading here at Salt Lake City and at Utah Motorsports campus. He was pretty effective here last year at GTS, wasn't he?
Yeah, he really was. He loves this racetrack, and very impressive young man. Talking about him all season long, of course, in some of his performances. Won Sprint X round with his teammate Maxime Soulet at VIR. So he's found his way at Victory Circle already this year, and he has a lot of confidence and has been building an amazing talent. He's now being chased by Ferrari factory driver Tony Vilander.
It's been fun to watch, too, because he started the year as an AM driver and got bumped pretty quick, and every once in a while that happens, and the AM just says, oh, it's too soon, I'm not ready, and he lets it get to him. Rodrigo just went out and just continued to perform at an absolutely top level.
Yes, he did. It didn't faze him whatsoever, and I think in the overall scheme of things, I think it's better for him to be rated amongst the best in the field right now and going up against the pros, because that's how you raise your game.
Boy, and they are just flowing down through that bad attitude, they call it. The TV doesn't do quite justice to the elevation drop there, and you get unsettled over the curb at the top of the hill, and you fall down that hill, and you can see that car, it's a little off camber, it starts skating, and even with the downforce here, it's a bit of a handful. Let's check in with Ryan Moraine.
Got an update for you guys on the issue with the Bentley. Checked in with Darren Law, who oversees the pack program, and he says it's an ABS issue on that car related to the wheel sensor, and so that's causing the lockup in the braking zones. They're not sure if there's anything they can do about that, though, during the race. They might just have to suffer through it.
Doesn't really explain why he pulled off at that section of the racetrack. It's certainly not a corner you're braking for, so I'm not sure if he was just trying to reset something.
I think you might be spot on there. He may have sensed it somewhere else and it just pulled out of the way and was, flipping switches and didn't want to take out his teammate in the process. So, yeah, it was kind of
got it back together pretty quickly, but now he's having to drive the car slightly differently. Just your brake pressure will need to be different without activating the ABS system. Take another look at how this developed. Come through turn 4 there, he just suddenly swings way to the left to get out of the way of his teammate, and Tony Vilander flies by as well. And he gets back with the program. Christensen probably think he's wounded, wants to take advantage, and it got a little bit close right here.
This is where, next turn now is where he locked up just a little bit. So, yep. And I think that's maybe what happened was he got out of the way trying to do some reset inside the car. So, but now he is in just full defense mode, still hanging on in that 4th spot. But Heckert, he knows that car's got some issues right now, so he is going to do everything he can to pounce.
Well, it definitely affects the whole rhythm. I mean, the way you drive a race car, activating the ABS versus not, it's hard to really adjust that quickly, even though Alvaro is one of the best in the business.
Yeah, look at Heckert flashing the lights and everything, and of course you can see the stack up behind him. Hensler in that red, black, and white Castrol Pfaff Porsche, right up behind him. Oh, and a huge plume of lockup that time, as Parent really struggling right now, Cal.
Yeah, with those sort of lockups, what happens is you end up with that little flat spot on the tire. Then as you rotate the wheel into the next brake zone, it's going to pick up on that, potentially cause a bigger and bigger issue. Good news is you do get the 4 tire change halfway through, so maybe they were thinking of keeping Alvaro out for the maximum 35 minutes. They may bring him in as early as the 25-minute mark to get a fresh set of rubber on for him and turn it over to Andy Soucek.
And Heckert, sensing the issues here, just went straight to the apex, knew that Alvaro was going to have to be very gentle on that brake pedal, and just took advantage of it. And Hensler's been watching all this, as has Cooper. It's going to be a long, 20 minutes here for Parent.
Yeah, he needs to keep pushing hard, about 15 minutes before he can hit pit lane at the earliest possible time. Hensler, he needs to go. He's got to go as Cooper looks to the inside. Yeah, and Alvaro's just really suspect here into all of these brake zones. He's just giving it up right now. I think he's trying to preserve that tire and not lock it up anymore. Very early on the brakes that particular lap, and Cooper dives for the inside.
Yeah, beautiful move there. He just followed Hensler right through. And Hensler kind of got down inside for it and got him offline, and Cooper got a great exit out of Blackrock and went right down to the inside into right hook. So Cooper on the prowl right now. And he said that this Mercedes, he said, the thing, it doesn't matter, afternoon, morning, it comes to speed quickly.
Yeah, well, they've certainly been very impressive this year in terms of their pace. They've just had a few mechanical gremlins, a little bit of bad luck here and there, and obviously Daniel Morad had that incident in the last round at Portland, so the luck hasn't been their way. But in terms of rolling off the truck and being quick this year, they've certainly learned a lot with the CRP team and that number 2 DeVilbiss Mercedes.
The one thing we see from that car more than any other is the sparks flying off it. It gets up on those curbs. It's compliant, and it doesn't seem to upset it when it bottoms just a little bit. So we go back to our AM category battle, and it's a good one. Wei Lu and that white Ferrari, a Vancouver Ferrari from TR3 Racing, fending off Parker Chase in that vertical bridge true speed Audi.
Ferraris have shown pace here this weekend. Yesterday's afternoon practice session, it was a 1-2-3 for Ferrari, and that didn't include the Alfieri car, so very impressive.
And Shirazaka-san continues to lead in the AM category in the 97 Turner Snap-it BMW M6 GT3, having a very stout race right now, holding off Yuki Hirata. David Askew, give him a shout-out, being a Salt Lake-based team and a Salt Lake City-based driver. And the DXDT Mercedes sits second in the AM class, the black number 63.
Yeah, this is a really nice race by Shirazaka to come in here and be right in the thick of things. Yuki Hirata has really shown a lot of pace this season, so to be running ahead of him on debut in this championship is a nice solid run, and it's great to see those familiar Turner colors back in the championship chase. I think there's really a toe in the water for everyone right now to see if they want to do a little bit more next season.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. And you're talking about Shirazaka, he's had a very busy year. They're both racing the Blancpain GT Asia Series. He's done some European Blancpain stuff, now racing here in the U.S. And he also, from 2013 to 15, I mentioned earlier, was running in that Japanese Super GT. That's wicked good stuff.
It really is. The Super GT Championship is some phenomenal race cars. I think if he can run competitively there, that certainly is a statement about his abilities. And as we know, different format for next year. We're going to be running Sprint X format in all of the GT races. So for these drivers, this could be just a way to take a look at the championship, see how they fit in, and also see how the Turner team operates.
And we also, that's another reason I think that we may see the Risi Competizione boys here. A couple of different reasons, obviously, and they've got a customer driver that wanted to come and give it a try, and the like. But Rick Mayer, looking at this championship along with Giuseppe Risi, but now Tony Vielander in the Alfieri entry has closed that margin up just a little bit on Baptista. Last couple of laps, he's been a smidge quicker.
Yes, he has. Baptista has the fastest lap of the race, the only driver to dip into the 149 range, 149.8, compared to Vielander's lap, for example, at 150.1. So we now see, can't get to the pit stop window, got to come in here and address this. I'm sure Alvaro's saying it's undrivable. See, the laptop is out and plugged in, trying to identify. These cars are so heavily reliant on electronics these days. Nothing that the driver can really do to drive around an issue such as he's experiencing.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, when you've got the electronic controls on something and they go, it's, in the old days, think about when the power steering goes out in a car and you've got absolutely no way to turn the car. Well, now with all of this electronic management, it's kind of a similar story. And that's when you bring out the geeks that plug in and start looking at data. And I say that with huge amount of respect. Geeks at this level, they are something special.
Well, they're now in the run for the championship, so I think what they'll be doing now is focusing forward on tomorrow's race. Make sure that A, they get the car fixed, B, if they can get it fixed and effective, go out there, try and get Alvaro to get out there, make sure the car's okay, and then when Soucek gets some fresh tires, just go for fast lap. Try and get a good grid spot for tomorrow.
Have they done that this year before? They just focused on the second race? Yeah. They played that to perfection at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And you could see Alvaro was almost, you want to get in now? And it's like, no, you got to get to the pit window. But, yeah, they've got the plan in place here for sure. And Baptista, oh, look at this little scrap here now as Yuki Hirata is up in the pressure a little bit now on Shirazaka. Now, this is two different classes, but it is an overall battle. And that Ace 1, by the way, for Yuki, he has come up with his own, it's sort of a clothing brand that he's putting together. So he's trying to get some notoriety for it. And he's pretty. Does it work?
Stuffs it in there. Both drivers trying to give each other just enough room. Good hard racing. I like it.
Absolutely, and that's one of the cool things about GT3 racing is you can see, you know, that M3 a lot more, you know, sort of a road car looking than that Huracan, but the performance of that M3 is absolutely superb, and they're able to race like that. And that M6 is up to the task. A little bit bigger greenhouse, a little taller chassis, but in the end, they go.
There.
Yeah, he did. Oh, and Yuki had to really tighten up. I think he thought he might get into the back of him.
He really did. He tried to squeeze on the power early and pull it to the left, and those two inputs at the same time were not going to work, and loosened up the Lamborghini.
And I think had Yuki been able to control that, he was going to slice through quite easily. But that's, you know, happens. You get right up behind the guy you're racing, and when he has that little bobble, there's not a lot you can do with it. Yeah.
It's really dusty on that side of the racetrack, and that looks appealing, but suddenly if the door closes and you're trying to use the brakes, you're going to slide.
Down through the bottom of the attitudes into the Tooele turn.
Yuki really eating a lot of that apex curve there through Tooele. He's going to try and make a dive here, possibly. No, Shirasaka closes it.
Yuki really obviously feels he's got the faster car right now, just wants to get through.
They're having fun. This is a great little battle.
It is. And for Yuki, he's looking at it as he's seeing Wei Lu and Parker Chase kind of easing up the road a little bit. And that's who he's racing, not just in this race, but for the championship. And watching it, oh, look at this here as Vilander once again just continues to chip away here at Baptista.
I'll tell you what, I think these pit stops today are going to be super important, Greg. Seemed like Baptista can hold Vilander there, but Vilander looks super comfortable. Doesn't look like he's overdriving the car, overdriving the tires. We know what Molina can do as teammate. They've had so much success and have gelled instantly, becoming teammates for the very first time here this year. 4 victories to their name for the R. Ferry Motorsport Group, and a nice, healthy championship lead.
As we watch this battle, you know, one of the great supporters of this championship from a marketing partner perspective is VP Racing Fuels, which is based in this area. And one of the principals of that program, Steve Burns, who does some pretty good racing in the GTS category himself, is based here. And I think Ryan's tracked him down in pit lane.
About how you were involved in racing in your youth, and through that involvement in racing, you kind of tinkered around and discovered the racing fuel industry. A lot of guys go the other direction, business first, racing later. How has this synergy worked for you personally and professionally?
Well, it's all I've ever really wanted to do is be around racing. And with VP, I was able to be around motocross, road racing, drag racing, airplane racings. It was just a fabulous job that I had for 30 years, and it was really good, Ryan.
Now, you were in the race earlier, the GTS race earlier today. What lessons did you learn in that you think might apply to some of these GT cars out on track right now?
I'll tell you, it's hot. It's really hot. Inside my little Jannetta, it was 141 degrees, and I saw that and really didn't want to see it. But what you'll see a little later on in the race, it's going to get hotter, the tires will get greasier, and I mean the cream of driving is going to rise to the top.
Well, lastly, for you and for VP Fuels, what makes Pirelli World Challenge make sense business-wise? I know it meshes with your passion, but from a business perspective, what makes this work?
I think there's 3 big venues around the world that's really perfect for the manufacturers and for people, the support industry, and this is one of the 3 best ones in the world. You know, there's more corporations here than virtually any other form of racing, and it's one of the most technical platforms that you can have, and that's what's good for us. We do lots and lots of work with the factories, and they help us refine our fuels and refine and define our fuels.
Well, thanks for coming down and joining us, and best of luck tomorrow as you go racing again.
I will. Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, he's just a great partner for this series. He's done so much in VP Racing, including the Hard Charger Award. I mean, you know, they're behind it in so many levels, as well as the official of racing fuel of the championship. And we got a report during that interview that Rodrigo just dropped a tire at one point. That's allowed now Vilander to be as close as he is right now. It was 0.7 last time by, and it's down to 0.4. So obviously Vilander sensing that little bit of a moment and is right there. And they're drawn away just a little bit from Christensen right now. That margin now back to Christensen from Vilander over 2 seconds now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Vilander's car looks really good. I'm going to be interested to see if anyone does the undercut here or the overcut in terms of, I think Vilander's car is quick. So if Baptista pits early, wouldn't be surprised to see Vilander stay out there, try and lay down some really good hot laps on hot tires and enable Molina to maybe leapfrog around Maxime Soulet, who'll be jumping into that Bentley.
Yeah, and when you say undercut and overcut, that's based on when you pit, and if pitting early, pitting late, and using what you've got at that point to the best effect. Yeah.
Exactly, and the cold tire deal, even though we've got nearly 100-degree ambient, that outlap has certainly went a little sketchy for the drivers to try and get the speed out of the car. So if you stay out there, if you've still got good tires underneath you, lay down a really good lap or two if you've got clean air in front of you, then come into your pit lane, and your in lap should be a little bit faster than the other drivers' out laps, and you should gain position.
And we have seen that play out a few times this year. Spencer Pumpelly and Christensen using that to great effect, certainly at Lime Rock. And this battle continues to be a good one here. Wei Lu doing a nice job. He's got young Parker Chase. And when I say young Parker Chase, I'm not kidding. 17 years old, this young man. And just came off of an overall win. Gives you a little idea about his skill set. And he's put it together in a relatively few years here. But Wei Lu seems up to the challenge here.
Well, Parker's really been pushed very, very hard this year by both Ryan Dial, who he's co-driving with, and Ryan's being a driver coach to him as well as a mentor, but also Peter Barron from ENJ. Oh, look at this.
That's putting a lap on Pierre Mulacek, I think, yeah?
It is, but has allowed Tony Vilander to get a lot closer to Baptista, so coming through that last corner, I think Baptista may have got held up just a little bit. But look at that Ferrari. It just looked like it's nailed to the ground compared to the Bentley that's hopping around a little bit.
Yeah, that thing was twitching going into there, wasn't he?
And Parker Chase has now got a run on Wei Lu.
It turns into a drag race here. And that Ferrari's a little slipperier, and that Audi tends to make a little bit better downforce, which is a little draggy. So now he goes to the inside. Can he make it work into the brake zone where that downforce might help? Not this time.
Well, the problem with turn one is you're braking, certainly coming down a couple of gears, but you're floating a lot of speed through the apex. So it's not like one of those corners you just dive down the inside like turn 5 here at the Black Rock hairpin. So very different dynamic there. And if you're struggling to keep up with the guy in terms of straightaway speed, it doesn't really create a perfect opportunity for you.
All right, Vilander right there taking a look.
Probably a lap and a half away from pit stops for the leaders. Maybe someone towards the back of the pack could be the first to pit. You can see the clock there about a minute and a half away from that 25-minute into the race, 35-minute to go.
All right, as we are watching this, this battle is so close. Getting a report, however, so I'm going to stay with this here because Vilander might. He's looking at it here. He's so close. But Ryan, quickly, we understand there's a problem for the number 2 MK de Vilbius Mercedes.
Yes, it has been taken behind the wall, guys. Power steering failure. Nick Short told me they didn't want to run out there and risk putting it in the fence, so they took it back. They're going to try and fix it with the hopes of getting back out to make sure everything is okay today before the race tomorrow.
All right, good plan, obviously, when you have these kind of failures. Sort of the same story for Parent. We get a report, Ryan had also mentioned to us that they were going to have to change the wheel speed sensor. It was creating the issue with that car. So this time again, Baptista was able to hang on. And you can see what plays out here. You get through those last sequence of corners, Vilander's all over the back of that Bentley. They get onto that front straight, and the Bentley just has slightly better legs.
Yeah, we're showing it in qualifying as well, probably 2 to 3 miles an hour over the Ferrari. So Baptista's got that little comfort factor in when he gets towards the end of the straightaway. He doesn't have to defend. And Christensen's kind of honing in on these leaders. So we're at a critical point in this race as the pit stop window will open in just about 10 seconds.
That's a good point, because Christensen was back about 2.5 seconds adrift to Vilander not that long ago, and it's down to under, actually almost exactly 1.5 seconds. So
Baptista's really hanging on.
Yes, he is.
Looks like his tires have peaked a little bit. Pit window is now open, so anyone can hit pit lane.
What do you think if you're having tire issues?
Baptista!
Real loose.
Vilander to the inside. What a catch.
It's a great save by Baptista, but Vilander just knifed to the inside before there was anything Baptista could do about it. Great reaction by Tony.
That was so close. Now that's a game changer.
Do you think if it is, obviously if it's tires, I would think Baptista would come in now.
You would think. The problem is he's got Vilander out front. I think his tires are still pretty good because he hasn't really pushed that hard during the first half of this race, I don't think. So, question mark is how much of a struggle is it for Baptista? He hits pit lane. Now Christensen and Vilander will just get the hammer down whilst they've got clean air in front of them. They're going to try and get the hammer down, so when Soule jumps in here, his outlet will be slower than their laps. Potential change of position.
Maxime Soule is fast, folks. He is a Bentley factory driver and is wickedly quick. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out as Baptista brings that beautiful K-Pax Optico Bentley down to the pits. And Ryan Marine.
Rodrigo climbing out of that number 3 Bentley Continental GT3, an impressive opening stint from him, and we see a little bit of help getting him in there. Actually, it's Maxime Soule getting in, Baptista helping with the belts. We've got the tires going on as well. It's been one thing after another, it seems like, for this K-Pax Racing team this year. The sister cars we've discussed have the issues with the wheel speed sensor they think are leading to the problems with the ABS. So far, so good. I checked in and nothing wrong so far on this number 3 machine, so that's encouraging, but probably some issues with the tires going off late in that stint. We saw the results of that a little bit earlier as he slipped out of the lead. But all in all, pretty good from Rodrigo Baptista, who got the promotion up to this pro class halfway through the season, guys.
It was, and it's a slow stop, very slow stop. 67 seconds is the pit lane delta. 72. That is not a good one there.
No, and it looked a little discombobulated, and you get, two guys, but only one gun on the tires, and it just looked like the ballet was a little off step. Now, out comes the number 96 in the hands of Scott Hargrove. That's a good stop.
67.2. That's only losing 2/10, and you could see Hargrove nearly losing the car. Probably an exaggeration there, but looked pretty crazy coming out of pit lane there. Great stop by the FAF Motorsports group. Vilander stays out on the racetrack, it looks like, as does Christensen.
And Siegel out in a 67.6 second stop. Another smokingly quick one.
Yuki Hirata turned over to Alessandro Brazan, 68.4. So good clean stops there. This has cost the Bentley boys dearly. K-Pax are not having the best of days. Perent's car with issues. And now from the lead, not a clean pit stop. And on cold tyres, Soule is not going to have the pace of Vilander and Christensen, who have stayed out.
And we still have a fair amount of time, some 6 minutes left in that pit window. And I would reckon here, and you take a look at the times that we're seeing, Vilander has dropped the hammer, Cal, 150.4 essentially.
Yeah, I could sense that, Greg. I mean, you could just see the balance of that race car was so strong. He was just really cruising. We now see Parker Chase hitting pit lane. Ryan Dial's there, and Ryan Marine is on the spot.
Yes, indeed, as we see the driver change underway now. Ryan Dial getting strapped in. Parker Chase and Ryan Dial came into this weekend with an 8-point lead in the Pro-Am standings in Sprint X competition. It was down to 7 by the time this race started because of the pole position for Wei Lu and Jeff Siegel in class earlier in qualifying. But that said, it's been an impressive season. Parker Chase seems to really have it hitting his stride in the second half of the season in particular. The car is down off the jacks. They're just counting him down now, and he should be out back into the fight soon.
Boy, and that looked clean, Ryan. Absolutely. The execution, everything going smoothly. And we will watch this. They're down pit lane a ways. They left right about at a minute even, Cal, from their pit stall.
Not a good one, 69, so left a couple of seconds on the table there. That could be critical.
Here
Looks
comes
like he's
Siegel.
not going to stay on the same lap.
Oh,
it's tight. It's tight.
It is. Siegel having none of it.
Yeah. No love lost between these two guys. Remember, they had a little bit of argy-bargy at Coda in opening round of the championship. So Peter Barron made the call, kept Parker out there. That hot lap gave them a bit of an advantage, but they gave it up with that pit lane delta. Loss of 2 seconds. Effectively, Ryan should have been a second ahead of Jeff Siegel right now in defending going into the hairpin. Right now, he's trying to catch him back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take a look at those two numbers again. That 67.6 for the 31 team, and then that 69 for that, and that is the difference. And that little bit of not love loss that you talked about is the 24 is in. Ryan is there.
That's right. The Dane Michael Christensen stepping out of the machine. Spencer Pumpelly behind the wheel as fresh P0s go on to the number 24 Porsche 911 GT3R. So they came into the week in the Allegro Motorsports duo, 20 points out of the overall championship lead in Sprint X. They're mired, though, back in the third position. They have to leapfrog a couple of folks, but a strong one in this race would do wonders.
I'll tell you what, they got that stop done so well, he had to sit there for 10 seconds before he even moved.
Yeah, let's see if he lost a little bit there. Yeah, he did kind of bog down a little bit on Spencer there. 68.1, I think, with a good clean launch. That would have been closer to that 67 mark they were looking for. Vilander has stayed out on the racetrack, so tough to tell how this is going to play out. These opening few corners are critical for Spencer Pumpelly.
So at this point, Vilander, what are they lapping at here? The 150s, 152s, and he's coming up on, he could maybe sneak one more in, but that's too much risk, isn't it?
It is. He probably had enough margin there, Greg, to do it even with a little bobble, but they're not going to push their luck. They got the championship lead, and I believe that Molina may assume the lead of this motor race if they just execute this pit stop. Those hot laps by Vilander should have turned the tables on everyone else.
So here he comes, and as you said, Miguel Molina, who has been rocket quick, got both fast laps, I believe, at Portland, hits his spots, Ryan.
This has proven to be a real dynamic duo in the Sprint X Championship, Miguel Molina and Tony Vilander. Vilander leads in the overall championship as well, so there's that to consider for this team this weekend too. But I think all the focus, or most of the focus at least, is on trying to secure this Sprint X Championship. They enter the weekend with a 14-point advantage. Miguel Molina being strapped in now. He's been at a standstill for 26 seconds by my stopwatch, at least, as the tires continue to go on. Looks pretty smooth from where I'm standing, guys, as they drop it down off the jacks.
It was, and something that impressed me there was the guy, when they were finishing the last tire change, the guy who was helping with the driver change just tapped him on the shoulder, and that was, I'm sure, their message that we're done. You better be ready, too. Let's see what it is, Cal.
67.9. That's pretty good. That's safe, given a little bit of margin. And he should assume, there you see it in the background, there is Pumpelly, but he's got hot tires. He's got a lap on that rubber, so that gap is going to dwindle a little bit here, but I think Molina, once he gets these Pirelli P0s into their operating range, he should be good to go.
Absolutely, and the interesting thing to me to be watching, too, is the guy who sits third right now, I've often referred to him as America's best-kept secret. Mike Skeen has taken over in that Lone Star Racing Mercedes, and he has always been phenomenally fast. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Then Hargrove in fourth in the FAF Porsche. But that's not where they want to be when the guys they're chasing in the points are leading this one.
Yeah, that's not good news. And, of course, Ryan Marine talked about the fact that Tony Vilander has the overall championship lead. That is over Scott Hargrove as well. So Scott Hargrove's have to dig deep. He's got to get on the podium. He's got to somehow find a way to catch Mike Skeen in that number 80 Lone Star Racing machine. But that's going to be a tall order.
Yeah, it makes a tall guy. So it doesn't come easy. And he is just wickedly quick. And there you can see the margins at this stage. Jeff Siegel leading in the Pro-Am category. What I was going to say, when we saw Dial come out of the pits and just drift right across over into the path of Siegel, I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't a little something left over from that Coda thing. And Siegel just said, that's fine, but I have the head of steam and I'm coming through. And they left each other just enough room. And then Alessandro Brisson now will be third in Pro-Am, having taken over from Yuki Hirata. And Alessandro has been on form in these last couple of events here in this championship. Super racy at Portland.
Yeah, he really was. It was fun to see that white Lamborghini fighting out for overall positions at the sharp end. Just got a report that there might have been a problem for the number 3 machine, the Soulé. We talked about the slow pit stop there for the car that was leading the first part of this race. They've had some kind of issue getting up to speed in pit lane there, which may indicate why their pit stop delta was so slow.
All right, that makes some sense. And the other one I noticed, unfortunately, a really problematic stop for the 97 Turner car. And Takuya is out now, but that stop, Cal, was a long one. Look at that, 78 seconds.
Yeah, not good news. I tell you, it was not good news for these two leaders. And Mike Skeen's pace, new fast lap of the race, 149.4. BMW lock up and quick spin there on the approach to the Attitudes.
Oh, yeah, and that, I think that would be Naoto Takeda, who's taken over in that car.
Well, cold tyres, obviously, just had that slow pit stop, probably pushing a little bit too hard too early. So Pumpelly is inching closer to Molina, but Molina's tyres should start to hit their sweet spot, and then that should stabilize. But curious to see what Mike Skeen can continue to do here in terms of his lap pace, because his fast lap, admittedly on fresh skins here, fresh Pirelli P0s, is 3/4 of a second quicker than what Vilander did earlier in this race.
You said that was the fastest lap of the race so far.
Yeah.
You just played down too. So that's, important for tomorrow's start if that holds. And generally, you come out after that tire change. It's in the first, 3-4 laps generally when you're at the sweet spot of the tires, because then even though the car gets lighter, they do fall off a little bit, especially in the heat. Yeah?
A lot depends on your starting pressures, do you know what I mean? Your back timing your pressure in some way in terms of identify when they're going to hit their peak and then stabilize. We see Molina here really using a lot of the curbage there. That's Lazzaro's car, red Ferrari in the field with gold wheels.
Yep, very similar look here. That's the Racing Competizione entry. Here we are back up to Molina.
I'll tell you what, Molina needs to get on it.
Yeah, he does. And we have seen him do that. He's just come out and been exceptionally fast.
Again, just a different set of tires, different starting pressure possibly, but either way, that Ferrari does not look as comfortable as we saw from Tony Vilander. Vilander's car just looked hooked up. Last lap by Mike Skeen, another 49, so he's continuing to run 3/4 tenths quicker than the two leaders, but Pumpelly's getting closer to Molina. That Allegra Motorsports Porsche is quick, but Skeen has even more pace.
Yeah, Skeen sure does, and Scott Heckert had a great opening stint and clearly gave Skeen a car with some fresh skins on it that was capable of some fast laps, Ryan.
Sure looks that way. First of all, welcome back to Scott Heckert, Mike Skeen, Lone Star Racing. How about this car you've got under you? It's looking awfully impressive right now. Are you surprised at all with what you're seeing from it right now?
No, never surprised. These 80 guys, they're so good with this Mercedes. So we thought maybe the altitude would be a little bit, affect us. And I think it has. We're obviously lacking a little straightaway speed, but the car is so good through the twisty parts that it makes up for it.
How was your stint?
It was pretty good. Could have gotten off to a little better of a start. I think Alvaro had an issue, and he was hard to get by, because of the straightaway speed, even though he was having an issue on the brakes. So had to work to get around him. And once we got past him, we had about the same pace as the guys up front. We just had a big gap. So hopefully Mike, can close that down.
What do you think? Can he chase down the leaders, or are they too far gone at this point?
I think he can. I wouldn't say anything's not possible with Mike behind the wheel. He's a wheelman. We'll see it. We still got maybe 20 minutes left, 25 minutes left, so keep pushing.
Great stuff. And again, welcome back to Pirelli World Challenge.
Thanks.
I'll tell you what, you wonder if Mike Skeen can do something. Just think about that pass he made for the win at VIR. He finds a way to make things happen, and it's good. And Scott Heckert, by the way, was 2 years ago. He won here in one of those Sin R1s in the GTS category, so this is a track that he wheels around well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they're the revelation of the season, because we knew how quick Mike Skeen was, and we knew the potential of Scott Heckert, but they've been a very nice surprise nonetheless.
Absolutely. It's been very solid pace. And that margin, he's trimmed it to almost just 2.5 seconds adrift now of Pumpelly. Mike Skeen has.
Lean is starting to find pace now, just laid down the fastest lap of that car in this race at basically a 50 flat, a couple of tenths quicker than Pumpelly, but Skeen still a little touch quicker. Not the peak lap that he got at 49.4. It's going to be tough to beat that for the pole for tomorrow and the bonus point.
Yeah, it is. And a story that's building here back in the AM category. Remember, Baccarella had that off early, and he couldn't get the car turned around and lost a ton of time. The interesting thing with Takeda's incident or its spin, Martin Fuentes just threw down a 151.4, fastest lap in that car, and a few seconds quicker than Takeda and quicker than the current leader, Askew. That is that black Mercedes right there, the DXDT Security National Mortgage entry. He is leading in the AM category, the AM class, if you will, and he's got a very hungry Anthony Lazzaro coming up on the back of him in the Racing Competizione machine. But this is what I was talking about, and yes, Fuentes has already found a way to slide by and take that second spot in the AM class from Takeda.
Yeah, he's got quite a bit of work to do, though, So Fuentes, who we have seen run
very quick times, as fast as anybody on the track on occasion. Has taken over the helm here in that Hublot Alpha Prime. It's Squadra Corsa Garage Italia entry. And he's got some work now, though, to try and get up to Askew after that long off by Baccarella. He's got a lot of time to make up. I don't think he's going to get there in this one. And they have been undefeated in Sprint X, the Baccarella-Fuentes pairing. And I'm not sure that's going to stay today unless there's some problem for Askew, because it's almost a 44-second deficit he's got to dig up.
Yeah, and Askew's just driven a clean race. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Baccarella lost a lot of time. I was just trying to put it together in my own mind. Why is there such a massive gap? Well, Baccarella had that spin and really struggled to get going again. Then we saw the spin for the BMW. So David Askew here has a very solid lead, and a lot of work here for Fuentes.
Absolutely. Then here's a look at Mr. Askew once again. And he's got a lot of knowledge of this track. As I said, the team's based here. This is home for him, so he gets around here a lot. He knows his way around. And he's putting together a very solid drive right now.
He and his teammate had a Sprint X pole position here.
That's actually correct. They did.
A couple of years ago as well. So good memories to build on.
So good running here, and we now go and take a look at our leader in the Pro-Am category, Jeff Siegel. 5th overall, a very solid run here. And he's eased maybe away from Dial. I wouldn't say he's driving away from him, because Dial has actually that last lap, Dial was a little bit quicker than Siegel was, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but every point is precious, even though they come in here with an 8-point lead. Anything can happen tomorrow, so this is a crucial moment in this Sprint X Championship that Jeff Siegel, he stayed out that extra lap. Parker Chase did, but it wasn't quite enough with a little bobble on pit lane. And settling in here at the front, Molina's found his sweet spot. Just laid down his best lap of the race at 49.9. So I just think they started that car on relatively low tire pressures, Greg, and it's only just starting to build up and get him into the window where the car will work.
Well, with this heat, obviously, you've got to be thinking about that, because obviously the tires will pressure up a lot more with those temperatures. So you can't get too greedy early, can you?
No, you can't, because you need something to fight with at the end. And I think with the track position that they naturally assumed they would have by the good stints by Tony Vilander, they may have even made that adjustment very late in the day. Do you know what I mean? We're going to have the track position. We want to be strong at the end. If they needed to get out there and get going, you know what I mean, or catch someone, they may have started on a higher pressure.
Well, and I'll tell you, Pompelli and Skeen that last lap, virtually identical laps, 150.3s for each. And that's not certainly what Skeen wants. He wants to be a little bit quicker here, to have something here in these final 16 and a half minutes.
The three leaders are all in the same frame, but it's kind of stabilized here a little bit with Molina finally breaking into the 49s, and the two chasers kind of plateauing here at the low 50 mark right now.
And how much of a difference? I mean, what was it, 3 laps maybe longer that Vilander stayed out? But that's, 3 laps fresher Pirelli P0s.
Yep, that's a big factor too, particularly in this heat. And still a long way to go, Greg.
Yeah.
16 minutes plus. 2.5 second lead. That's a nice comfort factor to have. Allows you to wait a couple of corners if you come up on some lap traffic that you don't want to take any risk with. There shouldn't be any risk for Molina. They got that championship lead. Definitely don't want to be thrown away by making a move that they don't need to.
Just every once in a while with those, especially the R Ferry Ferrari, I just find myself just kind of getting mesmerized by it with that graphic scheme. And we mention it virtually every race, but it's such a throwback to the glory days of the 512s and the 312Ps. With the gold wheels and the like. And when you get drivers of this level behind this car, they can just be a joy just to sit and watch.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing for sure. And the problem is for Spencer Pompelli, I think he's tired of looking at that red rear wing.
I think he certainly had his hopes up there for a little bit when Molina seemed to be really struggling with the race car on those opening laps of his stint. But nonetheless, I think Spencer really, I just call him Mr. Professional. You can just slot him into anything, and he's able to hold up his end of the bargain. Even when he's pitted against a Porsche factory driver and some of the best in the business, he doesn't give up anything.
No, he doesn't. Plug and play in the end is just phenomenal. We've been talking a little bit about that point scenario here with the 96 Pfaff Porsche team, and sitting back now, not only in the fourth spot, but a fair chunk of change behind right now. And unfortunately, Scott Hargrove behind the wheel. And there he is at this stage. And I think Ryan Marine has found the gentleman who started the car, somebody very familiar to sports car racing here in North America, Wolf Hensler.
Yeah, let's check in with Wolf. I know you guys were trying to chase down the Ferrari in the championship. Right now they're running ahead of you guys. You thinking about that a whole lot in this moment with the Sprint X Championship coming down to the wire?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're always looking at the 61 Ferrari and at the 24 the Allegra Porsche. At the moment, the Ferrari looks like has a good pace, and we're running fourth. Ferrari is leading, so yeah, it's not looking good today, and hopefully looking better tomorrow. At the moment, I'm not sure where we are in best lap for the grid tomorrow, but I think maybe P5 or so. Scott went out on sticker tires and did some good laps in the beginning, and now I think he's trying to catch the Mercedes, the number 80 Mercedes, to make up a position, and or hopefully he can make up one more position.
How was your stint earlier today?
Yeah, it was okay, but the start was a little bit difficult. I was on the outside going into turn 1, and I thought it's fine, but there was a huge bump. I wasn't aware of that, and I hit that bump, also the Mercedes, and we both got a lot of understeer and got pushed a little bit wide in turn 1, but besides that was okay. And then I couldn't really go the speed of the other cars, and basically did my race and pitted early to put Scott in the car with the sticker tires.
Appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's been doing this for a long time and is absolutely such a solid gun. I was going to speculate with you, Cal, because I would have thought that, in these slippery conditions, we've always seen that the Ferrari, oh, look at this, coming back up possibly. This is the play, isn't it, Cal, to get him out here and throw in a fast one?
Well, two things here. A, they want to see that the car's 100%,
right.
And B, the icing on the cake would be to do a fast lap and get him up to the sharp end of the grid and maybe grab the second pole of the weekend. Getting back to what we were talking about there with Wolfie, who was talking about the other Porsche and stuff. If they can't win the championship, you know that the 96 squad want to be the lead Porsche. Well, the problem is they're going to drop about 4 points to the 24 car today. Exactly. They only came in with a 6-point advantage over those guys. So it's going to be game on tomorrow for the top Porsche, even if they can't do anything with the Alfa Motorsport Ferrari and the championship.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But to get back to what I was going to ask was, generally when it's slippery and the like, you'd think that the Porsche with the engine over the drive wheels getting launch out of the turns, generally that's where it really comes into its own. But I'm wondering if it's losing a little bit more than what it might gain there with the altitude and just having the 6-cylinder engine as opposed to 8 or 10 or turbo, and it just maybe doesn't have enough down the straight.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's always very difficult for the series to regulate the balance of performance. We see Soucek there in the background. I'm not sure if he's still got issues with the number 9 Bentley or whether he's just trying to stay out of the way and find a clear spot for a fast lap potentially. But yeah, it's always an issue to try and balance the engines here. And I think they do a really good job of it, but it certainly seemed like the Bentley had a little bit of straightaway speed. But nonetheless, you could see that Vilander was able to hang with Baptista and ultimately take the lead.
Absolutely. And these, when they do these track-specific adjustments, when you go to a track, it's rated and this automatic thing kicks in, that doesn't necessarily deal with temperature.
Right.
And when it's this hot and the air's thinner, the turbo's going to have a little bit more of an advantage, and there's not a lot you can do about that.
No, there isn't. That's just the fate. I mean, you make your
Exactly.
choices, you choose who you want to run with, which manufacturer you want to be aligned with, and it's horses for courses, and I think that's how it should be. I mean, everyone wants to be the same speed every racetrack. Well, that's impossible when you look at the different layouts of these race cars and different pros and cons of them. So there'll be racetracks where one team is top of the hill, and the next weekend they'll be at the back of the pack if there's a very competitive field.
And speaking of competitive, look what Skeen's doing now. He has that margin to Pumpelly is under a second.
Yes.
He has found it.
Well, you have to wonder, we talked about Molina potentially starting on relatively low pressures he knew he was going to get the lead and then be strong at the end of the race. Maybe the 24 car said, we're going to go for all of the chips on the table, and now Spencer's just trying to hang on for the last 10 minutes here.
Absolutely. And now Spencer's going to have to deal with Fuentes. who is down a lap to him, obviously, but Fuentes is doing everything he can to try and stay in it in case there's some issue for David Askew. And so he's not going to be super easy to get by. Part of the reason is he's just fast.
He really is. Fuentes, I think the gap was about 43 seconds.
Yeah.
I think it was down to 36 last time I looked, as Askew has already crossed the stripe again. So he's cutting into that margin, but unless David Askew makes a big mistake, it could be his victory here today.
Yeah, I think so. That would certainly be the case. As Fuentes now will
skiing deep on too deep. Look at that, ran a little bit wide. Got a little bit greedy there.
Now into that last turn with that banking. You open that entry up a little bit, come down that banking and get a run. And let's see, what was the margin this day? Yeah, Fuentes has that down to under 35 seconds from almost 45, so he's making up big chunks of time. Problem is, there's not enough chunks of time left in the race.
There isn't, and Pompelli's going to be in a bit of a conundrum here in a moment because he's getting ever closer to Fuentes, and if Fuentes is not able to keep pace, suddenly Skeen is going to be all over the back of that Allegra Motorsports Porsche.
Well, the thing is, when you get in the dirty air, there's a nice move, as Fuentes just said, okay, this is not my battle, I'll let you through, I think.
Yeah, I think he tried to open the door and then got out in the marbles and was just hanging on. Nonetheless, it's allowed Spencer to scoot through.
But I was going to get it. That was going to be critical for Spencer because you get in the wash of that car in front of you, you lose the air on the nose in these cars, and it's not many laps before those tires start to go off badly. And that's what Skeen's going to have to deal with now, too.
Yeah, absolutely. You can show pace, suddenly you get up behind the car, and if they can just keep you there for a couple of laps, that kind of just changes your rhythm, your dynamic, your momentum on them, and then you start to get into that aero wash, as you said. So the nice way to do it is to catch them and pounce and just make it happen immediately.
Yeah, the best thing in GT3 racing these days is decisiveness.
It is.
Yeah, just get it done. And down through the attitudes, do the two-wheeler turn.
This racetrack is fun, though, because it's got a little bit of everything. So even if you got a car that's pretty dominant in the majority of the corners, it still opens up the door in certain places for someone to have an advantage and maybe make a move.
Well, it's got lots of tricky little off-camber areas, and the one thing it has is the sand and dust. That you come through a corner one lap and you've got all kinds of grip, and then somebody runs a little wide in front of you, and you get to that corner the next time, and there's some of that stuff on the track. You can find yourself having that little bit of a lurid slide for a second. And there's our margin, there's our leader, and then you can see the gap back and look at Skeen.
He's right there looking at these fast laps. Skeen still has it, but interesting, Ryan Dial, I believe, Greg, has the second fastest lap in the number 19, who continues to run in the second position in the Pro-Am class, but only about 6/10 behind Siegel, so he's keeping the pressure on. That battle for the Pro-Am win is not over yet.
No, not at all. That's down to half a second. That's going to be a good one here. So we've got two great scraps to watch. This one, Skeen on Pompelli for second overall, and in Pro-Pro, in the battle for the win in Pro-Am.
So even through this section, here's that battle between Siegel and Dial. Dial certainly has had the outright pace here today. Now it's all going to be about this long green flag run here. Dial is ever closer to Siegel.
Oh, man.
Audi's really strong on the brakes as well. Siegel defends a little bit. Slightly more acute angle. Dial on the power early.
Well, the longer the race goes, especially in this heat, that downforce of that Audi, you think, would be a little bit more effective as well. And that certainly played out. That was one of its strengths at Portland in that heat, was that thing was just marvelous under braking.
It really was, and Ryan's really working the different lines here to try and get the power down early and get a bit of a run on Jeff Siegel. I think that line that he took through turn 6 actually cost him a little bit of time.
I do too, yeah. But sometimes you just have to explore, because what you're doing isn't getting you by. You know, let me try this. Well, that didn't quite work either. But when you find the one that does,
well, you're putting in your homework.
Yeah.
You know, you got 3 or 4 laps to go, and you're just putting in your homework here to see what may work a little bit later.
The one thing I've noticed is the guys going into the Tuella turn, which is the one before the turn they just went through, if you get up on that apex curb there, I think it slows you down on the exit. The car's unstable as it skates across to that exit curb, and it just looks like it doesn't give you as much exit speed as it shortens the corner up a little bit, the radius. but it doesn't seem to help.
Well, in the driver's head, you get greedy and you think, okay, I'm going to be more aggressive here. But what you're not really factoring is you're just getting the power a little bit, a fraction of a second later. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's hard to distinguish from the driver's seat without looking at data. And you just think, well, I'm trying harder, I'm working the car harder, but it's not as efficient. You're just trying to figure out a way to wring the car's neck a little bit more and find some lap time, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah, absolutely. And
this is where Ryan's really good.
I think so too.
Get a run through there, like he gets to get a really good run through 4.
Meanwhile, Skeen continues his chase of Pumpelly for the second spot, and this is pretty fascinating racing too. Here he just has.
He's got a run. He does have a run. He's got the pace. Pumpelly really hanging on here. Looks like his car's going away on him a little bit. Skeen is feeling it.
But I think Spencer just did a brilliant job to get Skeen's momentum nulled just a little bit there going into Tuella as he moved over. And then I think he just checked up just a little bit as he went to turn in right when Skeen was going to try. And I mean, that's part of the racecraft. Know where that guy is and just try and disrupt his rhythm a bit.
Well, you can certainly get into an overly protective mode where it's like, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble here. I don't have the grip, and you just get overly aggressive in terms of defending. But Spencer's able to just blend back into the normal racing line and find his pace once again, even if it's a margin off what he was able to achieve earlier.
Down to the turn they call Sunset Bend here, turn 1. Under 3 minutes to go.
This will be huge for Molina if he can pull off, get their 5th potential victory of the year. But this battle for the Pro-Am class will not go away. Ryan Dial really got hooked up there through turn 1. The Audi's able to use some of that curbing. Is compliant, is getting grip, is not losing time by doing that.
This is that high-speed kink that you just flat chat through here, coming up right here.
I think Ryan's car's a bit stronger. He's a little bit closer. He is closer than he's ever been here. Siegel's going to have to defend, I think.
There's Ryan trying that look to the inside, pop to the outside.
Siegel's really able to trail break into that corner with a lot of speed. He's not just stopping the car, he's just flowing speed through the apex.
Ooh, I think Ryan a little wide there.
Yes, the Ryan keeps running. He seems to think that's the way to go and get bike coming off.
The problem is, if you don't get the pass make going into the attitudes, which is a tough place to pass, it really doesn't do much for you, does it?
I think his best opportunity is into turn 5. Maybe he just hasn't shown his hand yet.
Yep.
But I tell you what, if it's the last lap, I think he's going to be plowing down to the inside. But again, championship is on the line. You can't get too aggressive and throw it all away.
Well, last lap it is. Certainly now for Molina is the R. Ferrari of Ontario, Toronto, and Alberta machine comes through. And here we go. That's that look you were talking about, Cal. Working their way now into the last couple of corners. They'll get the white flag in this battle for the win in Pro-Am. Oh, he's setting it up.
Yeah, he just needs to work it. He needs to be as close as he can, even if he can't make the move into turn 1. He just needs to be super close with his first 3 corners. Just time it through turn 4 and get a run down into turn 5. But I'd have to think Siegel's going to get pretty protective if they get to that point in the track and the move hasn't been made.
Yep. Yeah, you can see Siegel, the head juke into the mirrors.
A shallow approach there.
Yep.
Ryan's going to get a run on him coming off.
And this, you get through this right-hander, and the next 2 lefts here is where the stick of this Audi's everything.
This is where he's really good. He just needs to really execute through here. This looks good. This looks good. This looks good. He's got the run. Siegel protects. Knew he would. That was the weak spot for the Ferraris into this brake zone. But Jeff Siegel so far is up to the task. Ryan Dial gets to the inside. Is there a touch? No, there isn't. Clean so far. Do they keep it clean in this battle for the win?
Now, this might be where if Siegel was so tight on the entry, I thought Dial might be able to go, and a little wiggle from Siegel. Got up on that curb.
He did. Lost a bit of grip, but it's pretty good through here.
Yeah.
What will Ryan Dial, how much will he throw at him in these last few corners? What a battle this is.
Siegel skating sideways through the first 2 attitudes. This is good stuff.
Two of the best in the business, I tell you what. Siegel, they're slowing the car overly there, just trying to protect.
Meanwhile, Ferrari comes across and does it. R. Ferry gets the win here at the Grand Prix of Utah at Utah Motorsports Campus. And here's this battle for the win in Pro-Am. 2 corners to go, 1.5 to go, Cal.
What does DL do? Does he stuff it down the inside? No, Siegel takes the lane away.
All DL can do is try and get the run off here, and this checkered flag comes up pretty quickly. And it's Siegel and Ferrari will win Pro and Pro-Am here at Utah Motorsports Campus. But what a battle. And I know these guys, there may not be much love lost between them, but boy, I'll tell you, they are 2 awfully class competitors in terms of their ability. And what a battle they put on.
That was a brilliant motor race.
Yes,
fantastic
it was.
Stuff, guys. That was
Thank
fun
you
to
for
watch.
that. Literally, thank you for that. So Molina wins overall. Pompelli hung on over Skeen by 0.7 of a second for second, with Skeen third. Hargrove a distant fourth. Then Siegel winning Pro-Am over Dial. Soule did end up with a 5th place finish in class, 7th overall. Brisson third in Pro-Am. And David Askew at home gets his first win of the year. That's going to be well celebrated.
Yes, well done, mate. Tell you what, these boys, what a performance. 5th win of the year, 20-point lead going into tomorrow. And I think, unofficially, Greg, I think as long as they get past the 50% mark, they will seal the title.
Absolutely, and that's sort of a function of how many entries you have and how far the points are paid back. And, yeah, they're looking pretty good right now. And they've earned it. I mean, in terms of the most wins, etc., it has been their year, no question.
Suchek, fast lap. They got it.
Oh, right at the end.
Yeah.
What a story.
Suchek gets the pole. 2nd pole of the weekend for the number 9 Bentley. Congrats to those guys for digging deep.
And here comes David Askew with a Mercedes from DXDT, winning at home in Salt Lake City. That's just a fabulous story. And I'll tell you what, after the issues they had at Portland, where they missed the pit window for some communication issues, they had it spot on today.
They really did. Nice job, and nice job, Andy Suchek.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun opportunity. I know you want to go out there and win the race. Is what they thought about after the qualifying session this morning, but to rebound that way, he'll get to start the race tomorrow from the pole. And that lap by him actually bumps Ryan Dial off the front row, so it'll be Skeen and Suchek on the front row, we believe.
How often do you, in the middle of a race, get told, go qualify, man? Go get it. And the Spaniard was up to the job.
Last lap of the race was the fast one.
That is spectacular. So there it is. And there is that winning Ferrari, as you said, 5th time this year in, 9 Sprint X races? That's a pretty good percentage.
Pretty good pairing there.
Yeah, I'll say. And then Siegel right behind him. So a good day for Ferrari here. And a good day for race fans. That was a superb race on a lot of different levels. But boy, those last few laps with Siegel and Dial, just a superb job. And David Askew gets our Hard Charger Award, the VP Racing Fuels Hard Charger Award win as well. There he is, 4 spots he moved up during the course of the race. So a great day for the Salt Lake City resident. And it was a great day for Miguel Molina, Ferrari factory driver. Out he comes. And there's the celebration. There comes the team. You know, when you do it in conditions like this where it's just brutal and hot, and the team executed the stop beautifully, the drivers did the job, in these types of conditions, this is even sweeter.
It really is, and I tell Miguel Molina did a great job hanging on to that race car after he got in it, because it was not handling well. Be fun to find out exactly what they were doing with the setup, but I've got to believe they're on relatively low tire pressures, and he struggled to find the sweet spot, but he hung on to it, then stroked it away for the victory at the end. But just great execution.
And off comes the balaclava and the earplugs, and there's the smile of a 5-time winner celebrating with his teammate. And when you see that level of emotion and smile from Tony Vielander, you know this is a great relationship. Class act for Spencer to come over and give him a big congratulations as well. And as the smiles go on and the hats go on, I think Ryan Marine is ready to go on too. What a race.
Yeah, let's grab a word with Miguel Molina. First of all, congratulations. Big win for you and the team from the championship perspective. But let's talk about your stint. It looked like you had your hands full when you left the pits. What was it like in the race car?
Well, yeah, when I left the pit, I have a good gap, but for sure when with cold tires it's always a tricky moment. I didn't want to risk so much. By the radio they told me that we had a good gap, so I take it a bit easy. But then I start to push to try to find a good lap for tomorrow's race. But I'm really happy for the win. Actually, it's everything going in a good way, so it's really nice feeling for all of us and for Tony. He did an amazing first stint overtaking Baptista on track, so that was a good race, so I'm really happy.
How long can you enjoy this one, knowing the Sprint X Championship gets decided tomorrow?
Well, as we thought before coming here, we need to do our job. Today the job is done, so now we will think about tomorrow. But actually, it's a good start of the weekend, so looking promising, but still one more race.
Still plenty of work to do. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, once again, our ferry in that program just executing absolutely beautifully here and paying off with that fifth win. Let's take a look at our unofficial results. Once again, Molina over the Allegra Porsche of Pompelli and Christensen. Skeen and Heckert. That was a storming drive, as always, by Michael Skeen. After a great start by Heckert, Hargrove and Hensler. That one's tough. I mean, that's going to hurt him.
It really will, and it hurt Scott Hargrove overall in the big championship as we head to Watkins Glen in a few weeks' time. But it's going to be a battle between the Porsches, I think. But tomorrow, there's only 2 points between the 24 and the 96 in the battle for what should be runner-up, I think, now in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and you see there the winners of the Pro-Am class in fifth, and Ryan's with them.
Jeff, what a final few laps. You had everything asked of you, and you came up with what you needed to keep Ryan Dial at bay. Were you thinking about the championship at all in those final few laps? It's awfully close.
Well, of course you're thinking about the championship, but I know it's out of our control. You know, all we could do is come in and win 2 races. We're halfway there. I mean, to be honest, it was difficult at the end with Ryan behind, lots of pressure, but it wasn't so difficult because Wade gave me the car in first place. It's all you can ask for. So all I had to do was not mess it up. Tremendous job by the team. Just really disappointed to kind of keep watching the championship slowly slipping away, but you know, first place, that's all we could do, and at least we did it.
And Wade, I know we spoke at Circuit of the Americas, and you really weren't sure at that time just what to expect from this program this year. Have you surprised yourself?
No, man, you know what? It's really a tough season. All my competitors are great. The Audi's fast. Parker Chase doing a good job. I'm trying everything I can to learn from Jeff to keep up the pace. So I guess we did okay today. Jeff did a great job.
One more race to go. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. I guess we did okay today. You did great today, and that battle was one of the most enjoyable that we've seen this year. And here you take a look now at the AM class results. And David Askew, we talked about it, Salt Lake City resident and the team based here, and breaks the streak of that 07 of Fuentes and Baccarella and gets his first win of the year. And Ryan, at home, how sweet is that?
That's a great question, and can't think of a better one. So let's ask it. Victory on home soil. How special is this?
It's awesome. It's awesome to have it on home soil, and it's awesome that it's my first victory in World Challenge GTA. So I've been working at it a long time, and finally I got one, and I'm real happy. It adds a lot of confidence, and it'll be great going into tomorrow's race.
And it comes in difficult conditions, too. Nothing was easy about today.
I'm used to the heat. I race out here a lot. We have a local racing series here, and I race Spec Z. I got to give a shout out to all those guys. They taught me almost everything I know. So, yeah, it was very hot, but manageable.
Maybe a little home field advantage today for David Askew.
Well, and he did a great job. Dare we say, Cal, he sailed to the wind today.
Nice one.
Yeah, he's an avid sailor as well, so having some fun with it. But that was a beautiful drive by him, and what a great race on so many different levels. Some of the battles that we watched, strategy once again playing out, which is so key in these level of championships. And then that Pro-Am battle for those last few laps, absolutely stellar. It was a good one. We get to do it again tomorrow.
We do. Championships are on the line. Certainly the Ferry group look to be in a very, very strong position. They'll have to have heartache tomorrow to not bring it home, but everything else is on the table, Greg.
It is, and we're looking forward to bringing it to you. And for those of you that will be joining us here on the web or on Sirius XM, just want to remind you that our day will start. First race coming up, scheduled in the morning, probably about 8:45 Mountain Time, so 10:45 Eastern, for the second of the touring car races. Then we'll be off air for a little bit while the Radical Cup runs, and then we'll be back with the GTS Sprint X race to conclude the morning. And then following lunch, we'll be back with TCR, TCA, and GT Sprint X. So make sure you join us at world-challenge.com on our Sirius XM. And we look forward to bringing it all to you. For Ryan, for Gino Carini, who did a great job on the touring car races, and for Cal, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks for joining us here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix at Utah Motorsports Campus. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.